And we're going to be talking a little bit about the fast food industry and how it connects to the obesity rates here in America. We're going to be talking about three different topics: the poverty in America, the targeting marketing of our kids, as well as the absence of healthy alternatives, and how this ultimately connects to the fast food industry and the rising obesity rates. Now, let's talk a little bit about the fast food industry and its connection to poverty. With many people's pockets ultimately getting very, very slim because of the tariffs and other external factors, the cost-effective nature of convenience stores ultimately causes a lot of convenience to happen, right? The fast food industry essentially takes a hold of these dependencies, not just for the convenience stores and providing cheap products such as chips, Arizonas, or anything that would be considered a snack to have. But ultimately, this causes a starting dependency towards these products. When we look at a recent study that was conducted by the CDC in preventing chronic disease, we do see that regular consumers of these fast food products ultimately have an 80% chance at its max to ultimately get obese compared to those who really just have it once a week. And this is counting for the regular uses. So just a little bit of heads up with that. Now, let's talk a little bit about the childhood marketing campaigns that they have. What you see in many of these cases is a study where many times these kids ultimately will have a lot of ads coming in between their TV shows, in between their cartoons. And as a result of that, these food companies know that this is happening and they need to be able to market towards these kids. And they do so by marketing mainly junk food and any type of cereal and even occasionally some type of dairy product. As a result of that, you see almost 50% of the ads happening with junk food at the highest, and ultimately becoming similarly, as a result of that, similarly happening that 50% of those who watch these ads over the course of over 3 hours end up becoming obese. And this is children that we're talking about. Children who cannot make decisions for themselves and are already unfortunately making a bad short-term decision, which can ultimately cause a long-term bad decision. In a case of that, we see with government cheese, where back in the 1970s, these government figures allowed the inclusion of cheese and other dairy products to be included in our daily market, in our daily plate. And as a result of that, we see a large normalization overall of these products. One where these kids who grew up with these products ended up becoming adults who still use these products and ultimately give it to their children, who will ultimately give it to their children. So we see a case where the marketing was there and their inclusion was there. And as a result of that, they were able to really push these kids towards that. And we see that happening now with TV ads. Talking a little bit about the healthy alternatives in America, we don't really see that in places such as the South Bronx, which, as I mentioned again with the convenience store example, unfortunately do not have such areas of healthy food options, and unfortunately allows this dependence cycle to continue. A case where, for example, a hypothetical, for example, where we see the hyper personalization of menus and fast food happening, we see a lot of these places having a hyper fixation on making these products your own, having niche products or having open products becoming niche and ultimately becoming almost a disguise for what they really offer, which ultimately are products that are very below quality, which ultimately causes a lot of them, these consumers, to misjudge them as healthy because they ultimately have the choice to choose if they want the worst option or the not so worst option. As a result of the three ideas that I mentioned, in poverty, between poverty and obesity, this childhood marketing campaign, and ultimately the lack of availability in the whole food section, we do see that today we have to remind our audience that the generational decisions are made in the kitchen and in our communities. And these are decisions that will echo in the health of our children and grandchildren.